Hi, I'm Massimiliano Donadon, and I'm gonna do my country project presentation. So, for this presentation, the country that I chose is Italy, Italia, which has a high human development index. Uh, for this uh, presentation, I'm going to talk about the circular flow and the business cycle. So as we can see here, the circular flow. In the circular flow, there is money and factors of production that take place in it. Um, this money that goes from households to firms in the economy doesn't only go to these uh, two places, but it also goes um, uh, to things called leakages, which are taxes, imports, and savings. This will take money away from the circular flow. Although, to contrast that, there are also injections, which are government spending, investments, and exports, which will take the money back into the circular flow. On the left, we can see the business cycle, which describes what we have seen in the macroeconomy over time, while we have an actual output and a potential output on real GDP, which is on the y-axis, and time, which is on the x-axis. Yeah. So my first um, example, I chose exports and input. Here we have some numbers on the screen, which were taken by the CIA World Factbook. We can see that exports are bigger than imports. Um, although a problem here that we see is that maybe not all the imports are taken into account, since there are parallel markets. So maybe drugs were taken into Italy and they weren't all accounted for. We can relate this to the circular flow. As you can see here, the arrows represent that uh, something's moving in the circular flow, and um, the numbers for exports, uh, the numbers for imports will join the circular flow, but won't stay there because they're leakages. So they will go out of the circular flow. Instead, for the exports, the numbers will come in circular flow. If we do some calculation, you can see that imports minus exports equals negative $65.4 billion. This money will stay in the circular flow, and because exports are bigger than imports, the circular flow will expand. Our next slide. For this, um, chose to do GNI, which means gross national income. I took this data from the World Bank. Um, so how does this fit into the circular flow? As you can see here, the circular flow still has households and firms, and there's money that is going around it. So how does this fit into the circular flow? Well, because there's something called WRIP, which is wages, rent, interest, and profit. Wages is for laborers, rent is for land, interest is for capital, and profit is for entrepreneurship. So these are the sources of income to households from firms. Although um, the money just doesn't go one way, so it goes both ways. This is done by the consumption of the households. The households consume products from firms. By consuming them, they're spending money and they're giving the money to firms. The 2,100 billion dollars goes around the circular flow. So firms will give income to households, and households then will uh, take that money and buy what they need. It goes around like so. Uh, it, this $1 billion goes around like this. This is a closed economy, so we're not taking into account leakages and injections. But if we were, we could see that this money would probably go out of the circular flow because of maybe taxes or savings. And yeah, next slide. I chose to do the business cycle. So this is a business cycle. And I chose to do the GDP and market prices. Um, so here we have a graph, and uh, I put in a trend line for it. The blue line, so the trend line, represents potential output, and the red line represents actual output. Uh, so as you can see, this graph shows a variation over time. So the red graph shows a variation over time of GDP. It goes above and below the potential output curve. This diagram could also um, uh, conclude that if the circular flow is expanding or shrinking. So according to my previous slide, I said that exports were bigger than imports, which means that the circular flow was expanding. Now, there are other factors that affect the circular flow, such as government spending and taxes, and investments and savings. But uh, we could see that the real, but we can actually see here that the real GDP is actually increasing a little bit from last year. This has a direct correlation with the circular flow because it was expanding. Thank you for watching. Thanks.